Hello, chat. Can you hear me? Hello, chatty chat. Can you hear me? All right, I think I got everything set up. Go ahead and start dropping questions, comments, whatever you'd like to talk about into the chat. I'll turn my camera on here just a second. I gotta get Dirt Vision open. But I gotta make sure Dirt Vision is muted because I don't want the Dirt Vision people to get mad at me that you can hear or see what's going on. Ooh, that was close. Hold, please. Hey, what's up? Turn this music down. Actually, we'll just turn it off. I know some of you hate the music that I choose, so we'll just turn it off. What's up, fam? Friday night. Word about those sprint cars on track at Volusia as we speak. I see Cole Macedo is on the screen during opening ceremonies. I have not seen who qualified where. This microphone looks weird. Let's see. Heat races are set. Go ahead and like, subscribe, all of those things. If you want to bring some friends over, bring some friends over. We can talk about all sorts of things. We'll go live here for, I don't know, maybe the next hour or so. Let's see. David Gravel, quick time tonight with a brand new race car. Gravel quickest in flight A, and Carson Macedo quickest in flight B. Let's see. I'm looking at these on Twitter, by the way, or X, whatever you want to call it. Gravel, Zierfoss, Macri, Peck, Courtney, the fast 5 in the first one. Ooh, Bayston, Macedo, Brian Brown, a little bit further down in this first flight of qualifying. The second flight, Macedo, Schuchart, Scotty Thiel, Chris Martin, Parker Price, Miller, the top 5. Dietrich looks like he's buried a little bit. Emerson Axum, Dazen Persley down the order as well. Let's see. Am I live over here? There we go. I hate when you like turn on the stream from Dirt Vision or Flow Racing and it's like not quite live. You got to like kick it all the way to the end. Oh yeah, let's get into the chat. What do you guys want to talk about? There is obviously no lack of things going on. I have like a whole bunch of topics up here that I could cover as well. Kind of keep like a running list of potential show topics and things like that. And something else to point out is I've been posting like some little extra tidbits to the Patreon and to the YouTube channel member section. So if you're not currently a premium Patreon member or part of the YouTube channel member group, that is going to be like an added perk. It'll be rumors and things I'm hearing, you know, maybe things that don't quite make the daily show, whatever. But there's lots of little bits of information that I get that I don't use, you know, whatever. I want to be able to kind of have somewhere to put that stuff. So the last couple of days, I've been posting like some extra bits for those folks. So if you're not part of that group, check it out. Patreon, you can get the daily show ad free over there. YouTube channel membership. These things are a few dollars a month, up to $10 a month. It's not expensive, but check that out if you're interested. Also, feel free to throw your comments in the chat. We will go through those, add some things as well from my topic list. And we are like still like just shy of 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you don't currently subscribe on YouTube, would love to have you. We'll go with the first question of the night. Do you think Bobby Pierce would ever flip to Lucas? I don't think you want to like say never. I think he's got a pretty good gig right now, though, with the Outlaws. And like people say, oh, they want to race against the best. They want to race against the best. And it's like, yes and no, right? And like Pierce flipping over to Lucas would be, you know, a much tougher road to the championship. And he can still run all of the big races, win all of the big money over there. And I think the path to the Outlaw Championship is like just a little bit easier. I mean, I do think that Gustin and Nick Hoffman and those guys, Tim McCready, looks like he's going to be fast this year. They're certainly not slouches, and they would do well over on the other side as well. We've seen Tim McCready win multiple Lucas titles. But on the other side, with RTJ and Hudson O'Neill and Brandon Shepard and you know, Brandon Overton going that way, like it's Devin Moran. You know, I'm of course I'm going to leave somebody out, but that path is a little bit more difficult. So, you know, I don't want to say never, but I do think it's probably not something we see really soon. Bean says he would much rather be in Florida right now. Yeah, I think a lot of us would rather be in Florida right now. It's been insanely cold and snowy here in the Charlotte area for the last 2 weeks. So it looks much nicer there. Ooh, Tyler, thanks for the support, dude. If you owned a team, would you go outlaw, high limit, or true outlaw? I like not knowing the like super ins and outs of the money. And obviously the high limit thing, if you have a franchise, it certainly makes that side a lot more attractive. I don't know. That's a tough question. I feel like I wouldn't do true outlaw, like, it's really difficult to do that if you're not winning all the time. So, a series, I think, is definitely the way to go with the added benefits, the tow money, the things like that. I would say I would probably unless I had a franchise, I would probably go outlaws, especially if I had, like, a top driver. If I had a franchise, though, I think I'd have a really hard time not going high limit just because the dollar amounts are, like, really, really strong. Ian says, "Just want to say I appreciate the show as a relative newcomer to the dirt scene. Your show is invaluable to getting up to speed with the goings on in the dirt track world." That is certainly a big aim of mine. I would hope that the show is kind of for, the hardcore people. Like, if you watch all the time, you're tuned in all the time, we can certainly add value for you. And those people who are maybe new to things, we can hopefully get you up to speed. I don't expect to be drawing new fans to dirt racing. I don't think you click on my thumbnails unless you know what a dirt late model is, unless you know what a sprint car is. But I definitely think there's like a really nice cross section of dirt fans, whether you're new or you've been around the game a long time, that we can kind of appeal to. So I certainly appreciate the kind words. This is something we talked about the show. Dirt says, "Do you think it's concerning that High Limit only has one rookie this year?" I don't think it's concerning. I do wonder about, High Limit's ability to continue attracting teams in the future. And obviously we saw them, come out and offer up big money, right, for this deal outside of the franchise. And it doesn't necessarily seem like it's done much in terms of adding, new drivers. And I think the hard thing is that path to a franchise, right? If you're going to make a long-term commitment to being a high limit team, you're going to want one of those franchises. And if you don't have one now, like the couple of guys that are down the order right now that don't have one, it's not an easy way to go get one, right? If you're a Carson Macedo or, a Logan Schuchart, a Sheldon Hodgshield, somebody, that we kind of talked about some of those, potential guys that could flip to high limit, makes a lot more sense. But when you're a rookie, it's a tough situation to kind of put yourself in, knowing that you're probably not going to earn a franchise the next 2 years. And then where does that leave you after that? So I think it's definitely, I don't want to say that it's better or easier to go outlaws as a rookie, because it isn't. But I do wonder about the, that kind of long-term prospect of being a new team joining high limit with not an easy path to one of those franchises. If you're watching Dirt Vision right now, David Gravel I would imagine, is getting his championship ring right now. He's on this big stage with a championship banner with World Racing Group's Jeff Hockman. If you don't know Jeff, he's been around World Racing Group a very long time. Yep, there it is. Championship ring. Easy Does It says, Logan is going to be driving with a chip on his shoulder this year. Everyone talking about how he's been falling off. Yeah, I mean, he was way more consistent last year with Pruitt as crew chief. And obviously we know Pruitt has since moved on, has taken the Stenhouse Junior Marshall deal with Spencer Bayston. But, those guys getting into winning some more races, being consistent, running up front. I don't think there's ever been a lack of motivation, but, you look at the top guys in the sport, right? They all have, kind of brand name crew chiefs, right? And so can Logan get to a point where he can do that himself, or can they put enough help around him that maybe it takes some of that pressure off? We kind of thought that was going to be the case last year with Kyle Pruitt, but obviously it just didn't work out. So we'll see. There's definitely some good crew help behind him, and I know Bill is hoping to get more, but we'll see. I feel like we saw Logan have an incredible year in 2020, and he just hasn't been able to match that since. So I think the jury is still out a little bit on whether Logan can be a regular championship contender. I'm scrolling and reading in the chat, so if I get quiet, that's what I'm doing. Troy says, help a struggling driver find sponsors or potential a 305 sprint ride. I mean, that's not really what we do here, but yeah, I mean, good luck. People reach out to me all the time looking for rides, looking for sponsors. I don't really know what they think I'm going to do about that. But yeah, I mean, sure. Maybe somebody watching right now will give you a shot. Joe says, Aaron has had a great second half of the Australian summer. You think he's in the frame for a title back home this year with high limit? Yeah, I mean, we've talked about him all off season. I talked about him with Jeremy Elliott, back in December, and we brought him up a few times about the potential for him to be, in contention for a championship this year. We got to see what Tyler Courtney can do. What's Gio Scelzi going to do on the Spire car? Rico will be the favorite, having won last year, now getting more support from TSR. But there's a couple of, that next kind of 3 or 4 guys. Aaron is definitely in that conversation, especially with what we saw last year. Opening ceremonies going on at Volusia Speedway Park. Appreciate everybody tuning in on this Friday. What did you guys think about Bayston's win the other night? I think it's probably a good thing that he gets that first one kind of out of the way. Obviously, it had been a very long time since we saw Spencer Bayston win a national tour race. I have wondered here the last couple of years a lot about what Bayston is actually capable of. Given the fact that he was, with CJB, things didn't go quite how we wanted them to go there. Moves over to the Jason Myers team, you would think would have all the tools necessary to win there, struggled there. And then, Bayston has some opportunities to run with Tarleton and with Paul Silva and starts finding some speed again. And I had heard conversations that Bayston was talking to some other folks about, a job outside of sprint car racing. This guy was thinking that potentially his sprint car career was over, right? So he was trying to make some moves and figure out what could potentially be next. And, sometimes that just added little bit of motivation is all it takes, right? And, Bayston kind of gets to this point where it looks like, this could be it. Like if you don't make something happen here, and then we see him up on the wheel in the Silva car. We see him up on the wheel in the Tarleton car, and he gets himself into an incredible, ride situation with Stenhouse Junior Marshall Racing, NOS sponsorship, high profile deal. They bring in Kyle Pruitt to crew chief this thing with Sheldon and Ripper leaving. So, this is a great opportunity, but for him, the pressure continues to be on, right? Like, and as good as the win was the other night, it was a non-points win. And if it doesn't work out here, I don't know where else it's going to work out, right? Like you've had 3 opportunities now at a national touring level. You've run Outlaws, you've run High Limit. So I think the pressure is going to continue to be on him to run well, to pick up wins, all of that type of stuff. It's like we know this guy has talent, right? He's won, I think, 11. Actually, I don't want to speak out of turn. I'm going to go look and see how many races for sure. But he has multiple World of Outlaws wins in his career, right? And so you don't do that. You don't compete at the Chili Bowl. You don't win USAC midget shows, and all of this stuff. And having you not know how to win races, right? He's got 6 World of Outlaws wins in his career, 5 with the All-Stars, right? This is a guy that knows how to win at this level. So, what has been different? What has he needed? Why did things fall off? Can he get back to, to that situation where he can be running top 5, top 10 regularly, get that Stenhouse car, up into the top 5 in points and be this guy all the time. This is really kind of the make or break season, I think, for Bayston. And I'm honestly surprised that, a little bit with what, the way things have gone the last couple of years, that he even got this opportunity. So he really needs to take advantage of this. Jimmy Clark says, will you start a section of stats for PA Posse Series? Probably not. There's lots of regional stuff that I would love to do. It's just a matter of time. Keeping up the analytics section is a job in and of itself. With all the things that we track there already, it's a heavy lift. Yeah, Jacob, very much in the same boat, that I have been in. And again, right, it's not about that we we think Bayston is a bad driver or anything like that, right? It's like, and we know situations are a big deal in the sport, right? Do you have the right combination of engine and chassis and shocks and a crew chief and a crew and all of that stuff? But we just haven't seen it, right? Like we just haven't seen it. This is another big question, right? Royce says, how do you think Donny will do this year in his new deal in the 15? Another thing that we've talked about here on the Daily Show, right, is can Barry Jackson and Donny Schatz, two, very long time sprint car veterans, two guys with very strong opinions and personalities, can these guys gel? Can they come together to find success again? Because we've seen Barry Jackson do, all sorts of things, right? They had an incredible season, many years ago with David Gravel, and we've seen Donny Schatz win all of these championships, but it hasn't been that way for a long time, right? So can these two guys come together, work with each other, right? Find common ground, and find success again? I think that's a huge question for this year, right? And like, are they going to run decent? Yeah, they're going to run decent, right? Barry's not stupid. He knows how to set up a car. Donny still knows how to drive. Regardless of what we saw last year, Donny Schatz still knows how to drive a sprint car. He didn't forget. But I think this is going to be a huge question mark for the season: is what exactly can Donny do, and what can him and Barry really accomplish together? Jimmy says, why don't owners look to the lower classes when looking for a driver? There's some great ones to choose from that could win in the right equipment. I mean, it's a risk, right? Just because they're winning at a lower level doesn't mean that they can continue to win at a high level, right? And it's like, what is the situation that they're in that allows them to win at a lower level? Are they a big fish in a small pond, right? If you have just way better equipment than everybody else and you run weekly or you run 305s or you run regionally, like that doesn't necessarily mean you're a great driver. It just means your stuff's better than everybody else, right? So it's really difficult to judge that level of talent. And there are a lot of guys around the country who fans think are really good drivers because they win at their track on Friday nights. That doesn't mean that they're going to be good when the bright lights are on and it's Word of Outlaws sprint cars, Word of Outlaws late models, Lucas Oil late model dirt series, high limit USAC, things like that, right? So it's an incredibly difficult thing to do, and it's a huge risk to pull somebody up from a lower level and put them in one of those situations. And I think something else to point out, if you are a guy that races locally, regionally, and you come race when the big series come through, right? And you're not making features. And when if it's a small field, you do get a chance to make features and it's your racetrack, right? You run it weekly. You should have a good setup there. And you can't break in and run top 20, top 15, things like that. You're not going to get opportunities to race at the next level, right? Like you have to rise up, right, against that and show, what you can be capable of, especially on a racetrack that you know really, really well. Because a hallmark of these national tours is that you are going to end up racing at racetracks you don't know, that you've never seen before, that you've never been to, right? And the really good guys can go out and run 2 or 3 laps of hot laps and immediately be on the speed, right? So it's like if you can't compete at a racetrack that really, really well, that you have thousands of laps at, that you've raced at hundreds of times, that you race at all the time, like you're not going to get that opportunity. So it is a huge risk for car owners to go do that, which is why you end up seeing a lot of times this kind of round robin of the same guys kind of getting rides, because you kind of know what to expect out of those guys, right? Whereas you pull somebody up, a young kid, a regional guy, whatever, like you don't know where you're going to get. Are they going to crash your equipment? Are they bringing, can they bring sponsorship help, funding, things like that? Like you don't know. It's a really big risk. Should we, Tyler says, should we expect at least one more rookie joining High Limit before their season start? I have heard of no one else joining either series. Obviously, the Outlaw season has already started. So if you were going to sign up, you pretty much would have needed to do it by now. There is still, a month until the High Limit season. I just don't know who it would be, right? We've heard of TJ Stutz. We've heard of, Hank Davis, right? Like there's a couple of other names that we know we're thinking about it, whatever. But I don't know who else it would be. Like no, it's not Anthony Macri is not running a national tour. Brian Brown is not running a national tour. Danny Dietrich is not running a national tour. Like any of those kind of big major regional names, they're not making the move. So outside of that, I just don't know who else it would be at this point. People every year want to know about like the dark horse picks. When was the last time we had like a true, like legit dark horse, like really surprise us with a big dirt racing series, whether it's sprint cars, late models, whatever? Because I don't really remember there being one where somebody jumped up and was just suddenly in title contention all season, right? We don't have that because it's really difficult to do, right? And you look at even a guy like Carson Macedo. This is what, year 8 or 9 out with the Outlaws. Um, you know, you, it's it's really difficult to get over that hump and to win races and to be a championship contender. So like I don't know that I think that there are any, names like do I expect some of these guys that are further down the order, with the World of Outlaws that are starting, right? Is Emerson Axel going to win the championship? No, like can we get him to win a race first? I just it's too difficult. The guys who are up front are too good. To be able an outlaw season is, after rain out, it's going to end up being 70 to 75 races, and you have to put the whole season together to finish in the top 5 in points. And are we going to see guys jump up and grab a podium here and there, or is there going to be a surprise winner or two? For sure, right? Like you see that type of stuff every year, but to really contend every single night, you're just not going to see it. Chris says, would be cool if you did a live remote from some of the crown jewel races. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that's been discussed, and there are racetracks and big events who reach out to me from time to time for me to come do the show. But a problem with the live stuff like that is like you can't get like a really big crowd, right? Like I've been, when I worked at World Racing Group and we were doing Open Red, right? Like we did Open Red on Open Red episodes, quote unquote, from the stage where we had drivers, we had people, come on the stage while we interviewed them, and it just doesn't seem to draw a big crowd, right? And I don't know if it's just like that point in the day, there's just not enough people around, or if people just don't care. And like, I think Dirt Vision has done okay with their stage shows, right? But they're also broadcasting it live to Dirt Vision. So, even if there's not a huge crowd there at the racetrack, they're, doing it out to a much larger audience. So it makes sense for them to do that. But for me, like I would have to travel somewhere and bring all my gear with me. And it's like all the stuff that I have here to do the show is all fixed. Like everything is mounted. I don't set anything up every day. I just turn cameras on and go. So that would mean I would have to bring all of the stuff with me. I would need help, all that. I just don't know that it's worth the effort to do that. Stuman says, but is Donny willing to drive the way this younger generation is driving besides equipment and personnel? That's been a real factor in who's on the podium and who's on the trailer. I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, and this is a conversation, again, something we've talked about multiple times on the Daily Show, an opinion I've had for a long time. The code that Donny races by, it's like almost doesn't allow him to do these types of things, right? This hyper aggressive nature that you get out of Kyle Larson and Carson Macedo and Buddy Kofoid, he's just not going to do that stuff. And so it is something that I think holds him back because he's not willing to throw, a short slider and, to make some more sketchy moves like some of these other guys are. And you've seen in the past when it happens to him, he gets upset. So it's definitely a factor. And, can you teach an old dog new tricks? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, we'll see. Over on the Patreon, Tim says, how many Patreon paid members would you need to go back to doing daily shows? The issue with, doing daily shows 5 days a week, right? And with some of the things that have kind of changed in my life, it's not an issue of money. The Daily Show was paying me a full-time living. But the opportunity to do some other things and to have a little bit of a different life and to, do some, I have other pursuits, right? Like there are other things I would like to do. So it's definitely not an issue of money. It has never been an issue of money. I don't want to make decisions about the show and about the content because of money. So it's not, if there were 10,000 Patreon members, would I go back to doing daily shows? No. And like, honestly, we're at a point now where I don't have a major sponsor. So I have the freedom to kind of do what I want more. I don't have to have a show up every single day. We can mess around with formats. And, you've seen, if you watch the Daily Show regularly, right, the show has changed. You've seen it kind of shift in different ways here the last couple of weeks. And, we're doing more live streams, things like this. So yeah, I want the freedom. I want to kind of post when I want to post, do what I want to do. And so yeah, it's not an issue of money. It's not an issue of Patreon members or sponsorships or things like that. I just wanted some more freedom. That's it. I haven't checked on the racing here in a hot second. Looks like heat 1 is Dunzo. I see David Gravel rolling slowly on dirt vision. Gravel, Macri to the dash, Tyler Courtney, Sam Haferteep, Cole Macedo, your transfer cars. Guys on the outside, Crouch, Schatz, Brown, Polkerbeck, and Paulus. I should make my screen a little bit bigger so I can see that. If you guys have questions, comments, if you're just getting here, feel free to throw those things down in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or Patreon. We are streaming right now to all 3 platforms. Wherever you are tuning in right now, certainly appreciate it. If you don't subscribe to the channel on YouTube, would certainly love to have you. You can also subscribe to the show on all the podcast platforms. So we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that stuff. Easy Does It says, how long until us non-wing folks lose Briggs Danner to wings? I don't know. I mean, like, we've seen Briggs run a few winged shows. I think maybe it depends on, how things continue to go for him with the wings off. And, if he can, continue to show speed there and win races. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. He's definitely a guy that I really like watching. He's really fun. He's really fast. And it doesn't seem like he kind of does it as much, but like he's one of those guys that for a while would race anything. He was running midgets and sprint cars and modifieds and whatever he could get into, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's a possibility. He's definitely one of the kind of young talents right now in open wheel racing. So, but I think we'll just kind of have to wait and see. Gregory says, I'm assuming this says, where is the Osho running this year and Jimmy Owens? So I'm not quite sure about Jimmy's situation. There have been rumors that he's been on the hunt for a new ride and that he was not going to be with Kohler anymore. I heard from a really good source that he is still with Kohler. He's just going to do a pick and choose and that they were kind of having some crew help issues. So I don't really know what Jimmy's situation is. We've seen him, run regionally last year, winning the Hunt the Front championship. It still seems like that's a good option for him. But I don't really know yet 100% what Jimmy's plans are. Jacob says, if I'm still doing the slider, I'm hoping to get an interview lined up this weekend. Yeah, I mean, I've not been great about the slider. I've had a few emails from some folks with some content. Again, it's one of those situations where I'm getting text messages right now. Paul Archu is one of my great photographer friends, is sending me. This is the group shot from the Outlaws that they just took here a little bit ago to my phone. So thank you, Paul. But yeah, no, I have not been great about the slider. I need to do a better job of that. But again, it's just a matter of time and bandwidth. Trevor says, how do you think Tanner Holmes will do in high limit? Again, another big sprint car question this year. Gets the opportunity with Book last year. Didn't look super great at World Finals. The BAPS at the end of the year didn't go great. Didn't make the feature the other night. We'll see. There's obviously no rookie, contender to go up against him. So, if that continues, that we get all the way to Vegas without another rookie, then he will certainly win Rookie of the Year. But we'll see. Tanner has, I think really kind of picked up his game and we saw what he was capable of in the Tarleton car, ran well against high limit, ran well regionally out there in California, won some NARC shows, things like that. But obviously this is again a step up and we've seen him run a tour before, right? He did that half season with Shark after Jacob Allen got out of the car. So it's not like the moment's not going to be bigger than he is. He knows what it takes to run on these big stages. But like, can he gel with the Book guys, with their equipment? And really start to put it together. I think it's going to take some time. I think the expectations, probably need to be just set a little bit lower, and we'll see, what he can do. But a top 10 finish in points, I think would be a win for those guys. Mike says I should stop in at Fairbury Speedway. I would love to do that. Fairbury, definitely one of those bucket list tracks that most people, I think, should get to at some point. Mike does a great job there. Dalton says, "Hear any Tanner English news?" I have not. I would assume they've obviously got the race shop that they built, and I would assume that they are probably putting together their own team. I would not expect him to be on a national tour, pick and choose. Once they kind of get things set up. Obviously, Tanner on the hunt for things after losing that Coleman Farms deal, and the Coleman Farms deal is something we talked about on the show earlier this week. That's been very odd here lately. You go from Tanner English as a full-time outlaw driver and Zach Mitchell running really well in the Southeast to Tanner English isn't back because he doesn't want to run his stuff out of the Georgia shop. Zach Mitchell, we were supposedly told that, or we were told that supposedly Coleman Farms wanted both cars on a national tour. Zach Mitchell didn't want to run a national tour, so he's out. They go get Donald McIntosh, who was the Lucas Rookie of the Year. And then who are they going to get in the second car? Well, they signed Luke Morey to a development deal, so he's not going to be on a national tour. And the McIntosh thing, lasted a handful of races, and now he's out. And now Coleman Farms has shifted support over to Sam Seawright, which is basically going to be Seawright's team, kind of branded Coleman Farms. This is a very odd situation that we've seen here with Coleman Farms here, just even in the last few weeks. Heat 2 underway at Volusia. Justin Peck currently leading Garrett Williamson. Brock Zierfoss, Tanner Holmes, Chris Windham in transfer spots. Boguski, Bayston, Marks, Stutz, Stiers, Turner on the outside looking in currently. We are on lap 4 of 8. Tyler says, I also think people keep thinking that Tanner Holmes is going to set the world on fire immediately, but not everyone is like Corey Day, especially going to new tracks. For sure, right? And there are a lot of guys that have very successful sprint car careers that didn't start out amazingly, right? And obviously, Tanner's going to get more attention because of his social media following. And there are automatically people out there who do not like Tanner Holmes because he has a social media following, which is completely nonsensical. People feel like for some reason that, he doesn't deserve what he gets or something. But if you saw how hard that kid works, how much he busts his ass, I know it seems like when you are posting to social media, as yourself, to your Facebook page, to your Twitter, whatever, that it's not a big deal, that it's easy to do that. But the amount of content that Tanner puts out between the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, Instagram, all of this stuff, right? The videos, the photos, all of that stuff. This kid works his ass off to get that stuff done. And as somebody who does social media and does content, I cannot keep up with the pace of him. And I couldn't keep up with the pace of him just doing this, right? I didn't have a job. I was going to grad school, but, I had most of my days were just set on content. I wasn't trying to drive a sprint car and, keep up with merch and do all of these other things that he does. He kills me in terms of how much content he puts out. So obviously it's not great that, he gets that negative stuff because it's not really deserved. But he's obviously going to get that because of that situation, which I think is why, when it doesn't go well for him, there's kind of a lot of negativity that rises up. It's like, see, I told you he's not that good. And it's like, okay, well, maybe we'd be a little bit more patient. You don't say those same things about other drivers who are kind of in similar situations. You're just saying that because this guy has a YouTube channel. Jason says, how do you think Cy Lynch will do this year? I think Cy Lynch will be improved. A second year on tour is always good, right? He knows now what he needs to do. And it's the things that you don't see, right? It's what hotels to stay in. It's where to park the truck. It's where do you, get your laundry washed, right? Who's out there who's got a shop who can help you, right? All of those things that you kind of work out in that first year, then make it just a little bit easier in the second year. And the other thing is adding Heath Moyle, right? Having a guy like Heath who has won, big races, has worked for big teams, big drivers, knows how to put a sprint car together the right way. I think it's going to be huge for Cy, right? Do I expect Cy to go compete for the championship? No, but could we see Cy win a race or win a couple of races? Absolutely. So I do think Cy will be improved over last year. I don't know anything about Corey Elias on that. He's a name that I haven't heard of. You know, we know he ran before he kind of filled in with KCP, that he was running the Shannon Wheatley car. I would not be surprised to see him back in the Shannon Wheatley car. Shannon is a guy that, you know, has kind of a specific time of the year that he wants to race, and, you know, a kind of specific footprint of tracks. You know, I think Eliason is kind of good for that. So I could definitely see him back in that deal. But yeah, I haven't heard anything else. Heat race 3, getting ready to line up here. Macedo, Scotty Thiel, Parker Price Miller, Ryan Timms, Ashton Torgerson, Austin McCarl, Hank Davis, Dazen Persley, Danny Sams, Cameron Martin, and Creed Kemenaugh in this one. By the way, I don't understand why the Wednesday show wasn't for points. Why did we run a race at Volusia with the World of Outlaws that wasn't a points race? I don't really understand that. If you're going to run a race, you're going to have everybody there. Why not make it for points? It's like the show up points things at the big events. If your cars are on track for an event, it should be for full points. Like, and like they say, like, oh, we don't want to do it because it's got a different format. I don't care. Make it points. I don't love that. Easy Does It says paid practice session. It's like, I don't care. If you wanted laps, you know, there were plenty of test sessions and opportunities to do that leading into Volusia, but it's like, if we're going to bring everybody in and we're going to have fans, and we're going to sell tickets and do all this stuff, make it a points race. And I think it's interesting too, right? Like, so you have this first night, Bayston wins and is not going to get credit for it in the championship, and Gravel crashes, right? So, but he's not going to get hurt in the standings because of it. And not that I'm saying that I think Gravel, you know, needs to take a penalty or anything like that, right? But it's like this, there would have been repercussions from this night, right? But it was a freebie, so I don't really get it. Firing cars off right now for heat race number 3. I will probably stay live here for like another 15-ish minutes. I believe my wife has ordered pizza, so it will be here soon, and I don't want to eat cold pizza. So if you have questions, comments, things you want to talk about, go ahead and throw those into the chat. Justin Peck looking a little bit better. That was actually one of the things that I had posted for the Patreon members and the YouTube channel members, was the change in engines for Justin Peck. No Ford logo on that car, no Ford engines under the hood of that thing. I heard that Rudine bought a bunch of Charlie Garrett engines over the offseason to kind of replace that Ford stock. So I would imagine that that relationship is over. And there had been rumors of the Ford program continuing in some fashion or form, other engine builders maybe getting involved, but so far none of that's come to fruition. So yeah, I don't know what the future of the Ford 410 sprint car engine is at this point. What kind of pizza? I mean, it's pepperoni, New York style. There's a couple of places that we order from here. I'm in the Charlotte area. If people don't know, I live just a handful of miles from Charlotte Motor Speedway. So there's like 3 or 4 pretty good places around here. I don't understand this question. Do you think a good thing or a bad thing if a track has a budget beginner class that has big fields most nights, 15 to 20 cars, but has a wreck fest every night, only 5 or 6 cars finish and takes forever? I mean, anything being a wreck fest and taking forever is bad. But also it's a beginner class. So what is the expectation? So like, I don't think this class should be running, you know, with the Outlaws or Lucas or something like that. But there, you know, there needs to be a place for this stuff, right? Regan says, Kubota, what happened? My contract was up and it didn't get renewed. That was the same with Hunt the Front. It was the same with High Limit. Kubota had some leadership changes and they chose to spend their money elsewhere. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of sponsorships, right? Like, this stuff happens all the time with race teams and series, and look at other sports, the NFL, MLB. Like, this is just kind of the name of the game, honestly. Mark says, "Is the Madman coming back to USAC? I saw a photo of a newer looking car. I hope so. I believe he is back full time. There was um, I believe a Facebook post, some stuff from USAC a couple of weeks ago that he was healthy again and was going to race. So I would assume he's back full time. I don't know why he wouldn't be. At the very least, if he's not back full time, he will run a significant amount of shows. Obviously, Robert Ballou is the Madman who he's referring to. Mark, if you are not aware, Robert Ballou also has a job on the side. Is he a job? Does he have a job on the side, or does he race on the side? I don't know. Will probably tell you he has a job on the side, but so sometimes his job takes him away from some of those opportunities to race. But yeah, I would assume he will be back for a significant number of races. Carson Macedo leading Heat Race 3 over a rookie Scotty Thiel, Parker Price Miller, Ryan Timms, and Austin McCarl in your transfer spots currently. Dazen Persley, Martin, Davis, Torgerson, Sams, Kemenah outside. Looks like we have 2 laps to go. Tyler says in PA, why is it bad that the division has the lowest purse, has the highest car count? I mean, I don't think it's bad. I mean, I don't know a reason why, like, sportsmen and 305s and things like that, like those races are never going to pay 10,000 to win, and they shouldn't pay 10,000 to win, right? Like that, those are a class for a different type of racer. That is not a professional racing class. So, what is the need for it to, pay a whole lot of money, right? Like those people just want to race, right? That's their hobby. So, obviously if the purses were higher, they would certainly love that. But if you know anything about racers, it kind of doesn't matter about the purse. Like racers race, and also racers are going to spend what they want regardless of how much they're making back. Carson Macedo, your winner. He goes to the dash with Parker Price Miller. I like Macedo's car this year. Nice little refresh look from old Blackbeard on that car. The other thing that I had posted in recent days for the Patreon and YouTube channel members is High Limit Series sponsor. Supposedly, they are just days away from announcing what their next title sponsor will be. So as expected, they will have something in place before the season opens in March at Las Vegas. So there's a little nugget for you. And again, if you didn't hear me say this before, if you just got in or something, for the premium Patreon folks and the YouTube channel members, I'm going to start posting kind of more of those things, more rumors and little tidbits and things that I hear, especially if it's, something that doesn't make the daily show. It would still be cool to like have some kind of extra content for those folks for supporting me and what I do. So we will continue to do that. I've posted a couple of times this week, and that'll be, I think, a fun little addition to those places. Scotty Thiel getting the Connor Wade interview treatment, the big wheel. Be an interesting one to see how he does this year in that rookie class. I definitely think Axum is the favorite for the Rookie of the Year award, but some interesting names. Thiel is a guy who's got a lot of outlaw starts. I think Ashton Torgerson has some talent. So, Boguski's a guy we've seen make the Knoxville Nationals main event. So, interesting to see how it goes. Why says I need the smell of methanol in my veins. Yeah, I get that. Easy Does It said thoughts on tracks having fan appreciation nights with a reduced emission. I love it. I think it's great. Obviously we know BAPS is going to do that. Knoxville just announced, I believe, that their season opener is going to be completely free to go to. Anything you can do to get some folks to come check it out, maybe check it out for the first time. I love it. And especially, that's a risk, right? The tracks are taking a big risk saying, hey, it's a $5 ticket, or hey, it's, it's free general admission, whatever. And like putting themselves out there, to be able to do that, I think is really good. It's good for the sport. I'm glad to see it. Last heat race lining up: Logan Schuchart, Chris Martin, Sheldon Hodenshield, Buddy Kofoid, Casey Jedrzak, Bill Baylog, Bryce Lucius, Emerson Axum, Chase Dietz, and Danny Dietrich. Casey Jedrzak, without looking, type his name in the chat right now because I want to see how many people know how to spell Jedrzak. And don't cheat. Don't cheat. But type it in the chat. I'm curious. Casey Jedrzak. And Jacob, if you're still in here, you can't participate because we know you know how to spell it. Okay, here we go. Great attempt, Jedrzak. That is not correct, but I like the attempt. This one is very close. Very close. That one is incorrect. This one is also incorrect. I haven't seen a good one yet. Ooh, this isn't good. I saw somebody asked earlier in the chat about Ian Madsen. Roger says he was supposed to start the year off with Brett Becker Racing, but informed Brett this week that he broke his C5, had it fused, and will be out for 3 to 4 months. Unbelievable. So I guess that means that the Hydebreeder car will be looking for a new driver as well. That's a shame. So I'm going to type in, because I haven't seen one yet, I'm going to type into the chat the correct spelling of Jedrzak so that you guys can see, because this one, it is a doozy, fam. It is an absolute doozy. All right, here you go. I'm waiting for my thing to update here. Jedrzejek. I have no idea why that spells Jedrzak. It looks like Jedrzejek. All right, fam, 5 more minutes and we will shut her down. So last call for questions, comments, things like that, topics. If you haven't yet, hit the like button, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. You can subscribe. You can like and follow the channel on Facebook. That will make sure you never miss fresh content. Heat Race 4 underway. I really like the Roth car this year. The 83 kind of throwback Beef Packers look. Big fan. Love it. Regular just says his name makes my head hurt. I got to go drink a beer now to feel better. I hear you, man. That one is brutal. Bye, Tyler. Thank you for tuning in. Brian says, how do you think Shirley will do with Lucas this year? I mean, we'll see, right? Like, I can't believe that Shirley has never run Lucas before. For as much as that guy has raced in his career, that they at no point had they taken a flyer and run Lucas for a season. But you know, Brian, like we've seen these moments, right, where he gets hot, he can rip off 3 or 4 wins in 6 races, right? You know, do I think he's going to compete for the championship? No. But is he going to run respectable? Yeah, it's Brian Shirley for sure. As Tuman says, fun new drinking game, spell the driver's last name. There would be a lot of you drunk in the chat right now. Little caution for some debris. Jay says, what were your thoughts on the 1S versus the 2 in the first World of Outlaws race? I love that we're just out of the gate right into the drama, right? We've seen this with the late model stuff the last few weeks. Now with the sprint cars. You would think that this stuff would like build, right? It's like, oh, you've been off, right? Nobody's mad at each other. You haven't been on the road. You're not sleeping in hotels yet, all of that stuff. You could kind of slowly come into the season, especially on a non-points night, right? But we are just right into it. Just right into it. Gravel's car was hurt too. That thing was big bent. Some of the pictures that were floating around, that thing was ugly. Going back to green, Martin and Schuchart in the dash spots currently. Appreciate it, Nick. Nick is one, like, there are obviously a number of you who do this, but I want to shout Nick out. Nick is like everywhere. Nick is on YouTube. I see Nick's comments and likes on Patreon. Nick is like a guy who just follows DIRTRACKR everywhere. I love that. I appreciate the support, dude. And he's not the only one. I know there are a number of you who do this, so I don't want to say like that. I don't see the other ones too, because I do, but I want to shout out Nick. Ooh, it's getting spicy at Volusia. Martin about to be kicked back to third. Schuchart now leading. Kofoid has second. And we are coming to the checkered. Yes. Schuchart and Kofoid, your dash cars. Martin, Hodenshield, Baylog, Axum Dietz, Jed Razak, and Bryce Lucius on the outside looking in. All right, I'm going to give Andy the last question here. What do you think Dalton Wilson will do? I would love to see Dalton win a couple of races. I think he's a good character. He's a good driver. Is that big frog stuff? Is that a step up from where he was last year with the JR stuff? I don't know. That kind of seems a bit lateral. But can we see him jump up and win a couple of races? I do. Again, is he a guy that's going to compete for the championship? No. But I like Dalton. I think, again, he's a good character for the sport. Love the hair, obviously. But yeah, hopefully he has a good season. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in on this Friday. Hope you enjoyed it for a little bit. We'll see what the weekend brings. I'm not sure when we'll have a daily again. Maybe a new daily tomorrow, maybe a new daily on Sunday. We'll see. But just keep checking back. Hope you guys have a good Friday and a good weekend out there. Thank you for all of the support, and we will see you back here very soon.